Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, we're talking... What are we talking? Doctor's appointments. I'm sure that's a hot button topic. Trying to get in touch with the post office. Another hot button topic. Masking emotions. The God hole. Any of this piquing your interest? Yes? No? TV, movies, and computer games. What more could we want? I don't know. Something coherent, maybe. Before we get started, please consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously, the big one is share the podcast around. I know it's just me talking absolute twaddle. But, you know, somebody might enjoy it. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the darkest timeline. Hello. You should never, that's how you start. You should never start trying to figure out why 80 gig of space on your computer is just unaccounted for. Because then 40 minutes later you're like, I was going to do that podcast, wasn't I? Never fear. It's 10:05 at night. You know what I'm doing, don't you? That's right. I'm drinking a coffee. And that is basically how this is going to go. I think we've had a few episodes recently where I've drunk a large amount of coffee and then talked at about 400 miles an hour. So, something to look forward to. If I'm honest, I haven't actually drunk any of it, so let's get that live on air. 2 ticks. I need to move. I've messed with my desk setup, and now I can't get it back to the way I want it or had it, and it's just annoying. Right, there we go. That's half of it gone. So, how is everybody? How is your week? How's your day? How's your life? How's work? Early warning. This might be an episode that you may have to turn up. I will try and do my best to make that as it's not the case, but got a house full right now, and I've been informed recently that due to a change in noise machine status, apparently I can be heard now upstairs, and I don't want to wake anybody up, but I also want to make it so you can hear me for the tens of people. I mean, even that's an over-exaggeration. For the 10 people who will automatically download this podcast and never listen to it. So, it's been a funny old time. And by funny, I mean no part of it has been funny. It's been an emotional roller coaster this week. So, like any good man out there, rather than taking those problems to a trained professional, I bring it to you guys. Cracking start, bit of cough there. We've been hit with the scenario where not one, no, that would be too easy, but 2 people in my house need a doctor's appointment. Both of those things are serious enough to warrant a doctor's appointment in a world where you can't get a doctor's appointment. One is through what I realised was a safety issue, and the other one is for a comfort issue. And that is that. So, standard deal is you put in a request to see a doctor, speak to a doctor, acknowledge that doctors still exist, and you get informed that a doctor will come back to you 4 to 6 weeks. That's not even true. I don't even think that's what it says. I think it's somebody will assess your request and come back to you within 4 to 6 weeks. So not a doctor. And that is that. And as I said to somebody the other day, it works on 3 possible outcomes. Number 1, in 4 to 6 weeks, your symptoms have passed and you no longer need a doctor. Number 2, and I think, let's face it, the one that we're all secretly hoping for, you've died in that time because you needed to see a doctor and it was serious. But from a doctor's perspective, they don't have to see you because you're dead. And number 3, your symptoms have carried on and you still need to see a doctor, and that's how sort of we weed out 66% of all requests. Obviously the other reason you can't get to see a doctor these days is because they want you to take your query, complaint and whatever down a private route, so that ultimately a little bit further down the line they can then turn it all private and you'll have to pay for your medical needs. We will ultimately turn into America, which is basically corporate and ethically bankrupt through the fact that it costs tens of thousands of dollars for small medical procedures. I had a conversation the other day with somebody where I was saying every single person I speak to at the moment where medical needs come up, every single one of them will at some point in the conversation say, ultimately I was forced to go private. And those people are people who are like, well, I had to do this or I had to do that because there was no other choice, and they've then picked the one bit of the process that they've had to go private. I was also saying, ultimately the other angle is to make you go to the hospital. Obviously they've taken away the walk-in centre. They moved the walk-in centre where I live. They moved it to the hospital. Genius idea. Absolutely genius idea. Of course not. It's a terrible idea. And then took it away. So ultimately, just go to the hospital. Puts increased stresses and strains on the hospital and drives up that need to make everything private. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the fact that not 1, but 2 people in my house need doctor's appointments. And it is a genuine need. It's not I've got a bump or a bruise. It is, like I said, one of it is an issue of safety. The other is an issue of comfort. One of these appointments was already in the works. So it went like this. Need an appointment. Okay, 4 to 6 weeks. In the meantime, a letter is delivered to our house that says that in some kind of weird turn of events, a situation has arisen where there's been an intervention outside of the process of trying to get a doctor's appointment. That intervention has highlighted that said person doesn't need to see a doctor. They need to go straight past the doctor's process and on to this person needs to go to the hospital and be seen by a specialist. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, it's not like we didn't try to get them into a doctor recently. The same day, I think it was, or possibly the next day, the doctor phoned. Not the doctor, but the doctor's surgery phoned. Because obviously, they will have received a copy of the letter. And they will have received a copy of the letter and they'll have gone, ooh, we can get rid of that appointment off the books by making a phone call and saying, oh, do they still need the appointment? Well, no. The letter says they need to go to the hospital to see a specialist. Cool. Means we don't have to hold that appointment. Bye. I, as I'm sure you can imagine, had absolutely nothing to say about that. Now then, in this process, the second appointment, the need for the second appointment arose. So, okay, we need another appointment on the books. So I was like, when the doctors phoned and they were like, oh, you don't need this appointment anymore, you should have said, no, we don't need an appointment for that, but we do need an appointment for this. So can we take that appointment that's already 4 of the 6 weeks in the pipeline, in the process, for this other thing? Anyway, original request gets put in. Need to see a doctor. Oh, you're going to wait 4 to 6 weeks before anybody's looking at that request. Honestly, at this point in time, I'd love to know what it is that they're doing. But anyway. There've been some changes, there've been some developments, there've been some kind of... The need became more, which, it already was a need. Somebody said, go back to the doctor, put a second request in, and tell them that it has caused all of these problems. It's caused major discomfort, loss of sleep, vomiting, pain, etc., etc., etc. Now, in a roundabout way, some of those things were true. So, valid. Some of those things were exaggerated. So, less valid. Put in another request. Now that seemed to get the ball rolling. So, the doctor gets in touch. That's not... I don't think that's true. Somewhere along the line, there's a conversation with the doctors. And the doctor says, you need to contact this private medical place. See the start of this podcast for my feelings on this one. So, phone the private medical place, recommended by the doctor, because the doctor's not dealing with this. Go to the private place. Oh, are you in pain? No, not in pain. Oh, we're only dealing with you if you're in pain. So what you need to do is ring your doctors tomorrow morning, first thing. I'm like, is this an actual joke? Is this some kind of you've been framed type thing? Because if it is, that would kind of be okay, kind of understandable. You kind of, you kind of get it. Anyway, phone call to the doctors. First thing, first in the queue. Get in touch with somebody, and this was how the conversation went, or what I'm told the conversation was. The person that was on the phone basically massaged the conversation to get round and jump through a series of hoops to propel the request forward through a series of different barriers and things that are basically just put in the way to stop you getting to see a doctor. This is the person on the other end of the phone who's like, oh, are you in pain? Yes. Okay, I'm going to put down you're in pain. And is that pain causing you discomfort? Not so much discomfort, but I'm going to put down that you're in a lot of discomfort. Oh, okay. And would you say you're having trouble sleeping because of the pain and the discomfort? When it's bad, I guess. Oh, so you're in a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and you're having a lot of trouble sleeping. Okay, all right. Trouble walking. By this point, you kind of get the idea of what's going on. So it's like trouble walking. Oh, yes, I have trouble walking. All right, okay. And you've been sick, and and headaches, you say. All right, and it's in this particular area which could be related to, those bad words, the C word, and right, okay, I'm going to put that down as well, and right, okay, yes, yeah, it sounds terrible, it sounds like it could be the worst. And on our end of the conversation, it was like, So they were like, right, okay, we've ticked all of the boxes, and you finally get to see a doctor. Doctor's appointment happens. Off they go to the doctors. Get to the doctors. Doctor does an examination. And again, it's all of the buzzwords. Oh, you're in a lot of pain. Oh, vomited. Oh, can't sit down, you say. You can't sleep. That is terrible. We are going to refer you to the hospital. Boom, right there. We're making progress. I'm going to need to put something on the referral form that's not true. Because if I put the truth on the referral form, they'll just reject it. Why? Oh, we don't know. They just will. So we're going to put some dirty, filthy lies on the referral form. And that way, you'll get seen. And then they'll pick up the problem after they've discovered the ruse. Once they work out we've lied to them, they'll then look at the actual problem. So, it's terrible, it's the worst, it's awful, according to the referral. It's the absolute worst. Definitely need to be seen by a specialist. Absolutely need to be seen by a specialist. Absolutely. As soon as humanly possible. You will definitely hear from the hospital in the next 2 weeks. Where did it all go wrong? which was the point in time where somebody was like, I know we're supposed to care about human life, but I can't see past how much I care about money. Like the fact that I just need all the money. I need all of it. And if that sort of like care for humans gets in the way of that, I'm just not going to be able to do that, I'm afraid. And here is the absolute tip-top best part of all of this. We, as the great British public, just accept it. We just accept that that is how things are now. Do you need to see a doctor? Yes. Tough. Okay. I'll crack on, shall I? Do you need to go to the hospital? Yeah, I think so. It's quite serious. No. The hospital isn't for you. Oh, okay. I'll just carry on with my life then, shall I? Oh, he died, you say? Who could have foreseen? Who could have seen that coming? Well, hang on a minute. He tried to see a doctor and tried to get in at the hospital, but couldn't get seen. That doesn't sound like a thing, does it? Honestly, I do not understand. It's been a proper head scratcher. I will come back to this later for a different reason. Let's talk about another fucking shit show, shall we? I'm going to read something to you. I tried desperately to get some wording for something else later on. But I kept this particularly because... Oh, no. Oh, have they taken it away? Can I get back to it? I don't want help. Oh, come on, bro. Come on, guy. I bet I've not got another one open. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, no. Wait, I took a picture. Hang on. Wait. Here it is. Here we go. Damn it. That's not the picture. Nope. This one. Bollocks. I didn't take the right picture. Sorry. That was absolute waste of time. Anyway, I ordered something. You'll be able to rejoice in listening to one of my wonderful I ordered something stories. However, I ordered something. It's a very long story. It was I got some money for my birthday. I specifically requested some vouchers. I didn't get the vouchers, I got the money, which is fine. I used that money to buy the vouchers using a money-saving scheme, a voucher scheme. I saved £3. That's right. I saved £3 whole pounds. I saved £3 on my purchase. Put money in my pocket, as a friend of mine used to say. So I saved £3, and I ordered from a very reputable company. I'm sure the vouchers needed for my purchase day after tomorrow. The company said, "Hey, we are preparing your order." I said, "That's cool. I love it." I ordered them a week in advance. The company then, about within a day, were like, "Hey, we've dispatched your item to you." And then I got a notification from Royal Mail. Hi, it's Royal Mail here. We have your parcel from this company. It is on its way. Now then, I had some prior knowledge to the process. Leanne ordered me the same vouchers from the same place using the same method And she was like, I ordered them on this day, they turned up on this day. So we are looking at about a 4 or 5 day turnaround. Now, some of that was because there was a weekend involved, and when I ordered mine, there was no weekend involved. So, notification from Royal Mail, we have your parcel. Cool. Now, I knew that it was a 48-hour tracked parcel. I'm like, that sounds good to me. Here we go. Let's ride this out for 48 hours. So, the first part of the journey for my parcel was going from its original destination to, I think it was Leeds. Once it arrived in Leeds, that was the end of that day's journey. Okay, well, it's just down the road. It's not far from here. Unfortunately. And we're a day into our 48 hours. Next. Start of the next day. And what we get from Royal Mail is a notification, an update that says, your parcel is now with the Yorkshire Hub. Ooh, Yorkshire Hub. Like it. So the Yorkshire Hub are like, we got it. We're going to get this out to you. I'm like, we're cooking on gas here, people. So they were like, we usually deliver parcels in your area between 10 in the morning and 12. Midday, not midnight, as somebody questioned me on. I was like, what? So I'm like, cool, parcel's going to be here by midday. I'll get the vouchers loaded onto my account. And then I am ready, I am set, and I am raring to go. A little bit later in the day, I was like, something strange. Not in the neighbourhood. Something strange. What could it be? I was supposed to get a parcel. So I interrogated the cat. Now, I know what you think. Two things. One, why would you ask the cat? And two, how did your interrogation go with an animal that can't speak? It was interesting. So I said to the cat, hey, did you eat my parcel? That was ultimately what I was going with. I was like, did you eat the parcel? Because you love parcels coming through the door. And you also love plastic bags and eating them and everything else. He was very, very informative. He told me to drop dead. Obviously, I didn't get anything from the cat. I also didn't get anything through the post. I checked around the door area, etc. Then things went wrong. We get to the end of the day, no parcel. I'm like, this is weird. And I get an email from the company that sent the item saying, hope you enjoy your product. What? I didn't receive anything. Why do you think I did? I checked the Royal Mail update, and Royal Mail like, part of our tracking service is suggesting that we delivered your item, and another part is saying that it's still in the ether. And I went, fuck. So, things start to get a little more confusing. The next day, there's all of this sort of, there's IT problems. I'm like, what do you mean there are IT problems? With Royal Mail? No, with the world. What? The world is having IT problems. I do not understand what that means. Oh, there's an IT shortage. I was like, okay, but IT is like, the company I work for has an IT department and another company has another IT department, and they're going to be not the same. Oh, no, internet brokey. I'm like, all right. Apparently it's affecting all sorts. Next thing, Royal Mail start reporting, hey, internet brokey. It's causing all kinds of problems. And I'm like, yeah, you're all full of shit. You're using a well-known problem to blame all of your issues on. Anyway, it all got cleared up. It all got sorted out when they updated the tracking details, which I thought was weird because, you know, if the parcel's in Yorkshire, ultimately, if it goes to the York hub, we're one step away from delivering it to my house. And the update wasn't, hey, we've delivered it to your house. The update was to tell me that my parcel was in Northern Ireland. Now then, in the FAQs for Royal Mail, it says, one of them is, why does it appear that my parcel is moving away from my destination? And they inform you that they've got lots of delivery centres all over the country. Sometimes it has to go away to come back. And my answer to that was, I understand that, but you either put my parcel on a plane or a boat or some sort of transportation from the county I live in to a different country. Explain that one. This was the point in time I went, well, this is absolutely mental. It's time to get in touch. So I picked up the phone and I dialed the number. And I got a message. It was like, hi, it's Royal Mail. It's like, hi, Royal Mail. They're like, we're having problems. You sure fucking are. And we're not feeling like answering the phone today, so kindly fuck off. And I went, what? Now, that isn't what they said. They said they're having IT issues, and because of that, they weren't answering the phone. And then it did those two things where one is like an automated message from their side where they're like, thanks for calling, goodbye. And another one was an automated message from like the phone where it was like, thanks for making your call today. This call has ended. Goodbye. And that was the end of that. And I went, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So, this was the point in time I went, that's definitely a situation where my parcel has essentially been stolen, I'm guessing. And in the process of my parcel being stolen, I am never getting the items in question. And having looked up all the stuff to find out, it turns out it's the sender's responsibility. So I went to the sender. And the sender was like, yeah, we're not doing, like, you know, being in touch with people right now. So you need to go back to Royal Mail. And I'm like, they've sent me to you. Starting to feel a lot like the doctors at this point in time. I'm like, why can I not speak to a human being and say, where's my fucking parcel? I am aware that I'm very sweary this week, and I am aware that at one point in time I said, I'm not going to do the swearsies anymore, and I am aware at this point in time that I'm not really asked, so, yeah. I basically resigned myself to not speaking to anybody from Royal Mail, not speaking to anybody from the place I ordered the items from, and that those items were gone and I was going to have to find some way to claim the money. It meant that I wasn't going to be able to buy the thing that I was wanting to buy this week and a whole host of other things. This saga started on Tuesday last week. And it was like Thursday, Friday where all these like internet problems were happening and all this like that. Friday night, randomly decided to check the tracking. And there was an update. Because this was the thing, it was apparently sat in Ireland for 2 days. There was an update. And it was like, your parcel's in the Leeds hub, and we're going to send it out tomorrow to the York hub, and from there we'll deliver it. I'm like, I'm sure you won't. Saturday morning, an update. Your parcel's in York. Not Yorkshire hub, in York. And will be delivered today between 10 and 12. I'm like, bullshit. Before I could check, because I had trouble getting my emails whilst I was climbing Saturday morning, I got a picture message from Leanne with a parcel. I'm like, what the actual... Check my email. Mr. Cook, your parcel has been delivered. Like, cool. So, 48-hour tracked post parcel, however you want to call it, 6 days. Allegedly, it went to Ireland and back, having been in the county I live. At no point in time was I able to speak to anybody on either side of the problem, the sender, the post people, in any way, shape or form. And why are we talking about this right now? Because I feel that this directly loops back to the doctor situation. We just accept that these are the way that things are. You can't speak to anybody. You can't pick the phone up and talk to a human being. You can't say, hey, where's my parcel? And somebody says, well, we've got it tracked here. Do not worry. It will definitely get to you. And then you can say, we're supposed to be here 2 days ago because it's a 48-hour tracked parcel. And they're like, yeah, we're really sorry. We promise it'll be there. Part of you goes, well, that's fucking annoying. And another part of you goes, well, just hope it gets here. Nope. Can't have that, can you? And we, as the British public, just accept it. Had a realisation earlier this evening where I'm deadly starting to slide towards preparation for the podcast that I have missed a couple of key things off my list this week for the podcast. The reason for one of them is it's a weird repeat. Now, I am not adverse to repeating myself, as I'm sure some of you may know. This one felt too much of a repeat, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. Me and the family, all the kids, everybody apart from the dog and the cats, I guess, we went to the maze yesterday. The weird thing about it was that the weather was almost identical to when we went the year before. It was the weirdest thing. So weird. Outside of that, it was very much of a similar experience. So ultimately, I've just not bothered putting it down on the list because what am I going to say? Oh, it was almost exactly the same as last year. It was a good time. It was a good day. It was thoroughly enjoyable. And there we go. That's that. Another thing that I've not put on the list, and I can already feel it starting, I've not put on the list because it will make me emotional and I will almost definitely end up crying because it's something that I haven't dealt with. However, I'm going to talk about something adjacent. I was going to say I got into a conversation. It wasn't a conversation. I was effing and jeffing about something. I know what you're thinking. That's not like you. Recently, I've been taking a bit of a look at myself and going, fuck's sake, man. Anybody that has to put up with you is, frankly, a saint. And I think I might have to do a series of things to stop different subject, different conversation. In the words of Jason Bateman in the film Hancock, different dinner. So I'm effing and jeffing, and I'm getting up there in the register of fucking this and fucking that and blah 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 blah. And then I switched gears, and I started saying, I saw a video that had a dog on, and it made me cry. And there was a situation where my dog hugged Leanne in this super, like, he basically wrapped himself round her, and I was like, oh my god, look, he's giving you this huge hug. And then next thing I was like, oh my god, it's going to make me cry. It's such a beautiful moment in the time that we've had this dog. And this was last week when I was really enjoying having a dog, whereas this week I'm wondering what section of the garden I'm going to bury him in. And there'd been all these variety of different things. So I'm effing and jeffing, and then I'm talking about how I got really emotional watching some stupid video on the internet. And then I said something else about getting emotional, and Leanne just span on me, and she was like, you've been getting emotional a lot recently. What's going on with you? And I went, yeah, I have. And do you know something? Honestly, it's because I'm not dealing with a series of different things in my life right now. I was like, I'm fully aware that I'm very emotional at the moment, and I'm also fully aware of why. And I was like, the whole thing with these doctor's appointments, the way I generally process stuff is, oh no, this is really bad. I then have to go, so it's going to be okay. Now then, for a man who's lived his life where I've done it's going to be okay, and it hasn't been, kind of a weird way of dealing with things, especially because I'm a huge pessimist. But I've had to go through this emotional journey in the last couple of weeks where I've gone, what if? Like, what if this doctor's appointment turns out to go a particular way that will change our lives forever? How will I deal with that? What will that look like? And then I'm like, what if this doctor's appointment goes in a particular way? What then? And what about this? And what if this happens? And then, like, almost essentially like living a different life through what ifs. And then going, no, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. So it's like a crust on top of everything's awful, of everything's going to be fine. So all of that everything's awful is under the surface. Add to that, my eldest daughter has finished school. Now, it's one of those things, summer holidays at the moment, so all of my children, barring one, have finished school anyway. But that's not what I mean. My eldest daughter has finished primary school and will go to secondary school. And I thought that I was okay with that. I thought I was dealing with it fine. And then I realised that I wasn't. There'd been this thing with this assembly that I went to, and there was they used a picture to signify like when she started school, and she was there, stood under the picture, and the picture they used, I was like, oh Jesus, man, that's like an image that reminds me of that time when she started, and she's got this little face, and I'm like, you know, that's my daughter, that's my baby, and it just set me off. And I thought it was that. I thought it was that sort of thing, like, oh, you know, but I knew it wasn't. And then when I've looked at it, it's actually it's actually a lot of stuff that's not that. It's all this different stuff. And I've realised that I've just got this, like, I don't know, basketball size thing going on. And I'm just putting this blanket over the top of it going, everything's fine. It's all fine. We don't need to worry. We don't need to be upset. There's nothing to be upset about. Everything's going to be fine. And everything's going to turn out okay. And under all of that is, you know, the alternatives. But, you know, I guess it's good to know these things. Something else that's been going on recently. The thing that I tried to look up yesterday, which made me look like a fantastic parent. I was Googling something. I needed some words for this podcast. I was Googling something. And at that point in time, my youngest daughter decided to face plant in front of about 30 people. They believed she required first aid. So next thing was like, oh, we need to get someone to come and administer first aid. And there's me staring at my phone when they bring her to me. And I'm like, what happened? And you know, when you know the instant you say what happened, the thought process is, you'd know if you weren't looking at your phone. As I said to them, she doesn't require first aid because she's essentially bulletproof. I have seen that child go through all sorts of potential injuries and brush them off like they are nothing. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what you call upbringing. So, I've talked, here's irony for you, I've talked about this before. There's an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So for anybody who watches the show, you might know what I'm talking about. For anybody that doesn't, either look up the episode, look up the wording, because I haven't got the wording, I couldn't quite get it, or start watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. One of the characters, Dennis, talks about the God hole. Now, I've spoken about this before. He explains to Frank that the God hole is this gaping hole inside you that you can't fill. And no matter what you put into it, it just will not be filled. And Dennis goes on to say that he refers to it as the God hole because he feels that people, a lot of people, the world over, fill it with religion. There are these huge holes inside them. The only way that they can deal with it is by filling it with religion. He says that he is not religious, so he then struggles to fill that hole. Honestly, nothing has resonated with me more than that conversation, that explanation. I definitely suffer from the God hole. The problem being is that I am so against the idea of religion that I struggle to even say the God hole. I have struggled and suffered through this thing for a massive amount of my life, and any half decent psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, would be able to work it out in about 4 seconds. So we all know why it's there. Can't do anything about it. Not necessarily true. There have been points in my life where I have been able to do something about it. But largely, unfortunately for me, can't seem to do anything about it. Recently, that hole has become like some kind of vacuum. Every single day, it has just been fill the hole, fill the hole, fill the hole, fill the hole. Every minute of every day. And it's been everything. It's been like shopping, buying stuff, that kind of sort of impulse, which doesn't work when you don't have any money to speak of. You're like, how do I do that? I don't have any money. Food, weirdly, like exercise, and it's hard to explain, but it's weirdly pushed me on further in like climbing, and times where I've been like, oh, I can do, this number of sets, and this number of reps, and then just finding that I've gone like way over, way past, and being like, all right, cool, well, that's more, so that's a good thing. And it was rampant to the point where it was becoming exhausting. It was so tiring that it was like, I don't think I can take this anymore. I don't physically think I can do this anymore. It was everything. It was, I need 9 different computer games on the go at once, and maybe one of them will fill this hole. I need to have 4 different types of biscuit in my life, because you never know which one of those biscuits might fill the hole. It's going to be one of them, surely. Right, okay, I need a drink. So, let's line 4 up, yeah? A hot coffee, a cold coffee, another cold coffee, a glass of Pepsi, and let's get a non-alcoholic beer, and actually add another cold coffee to that mix. Is that enough? Is that what's going to do it? So, a little bit of a backstory. Like I say, this has been an issue for many years. 20 plus years. More, maybe, possibly. I seem to think there was a point in time where all of this was a lot easier to deal with, I think. However, I have a secret remedy. Because I found something that not only fills that hole, it actually fills it to the point where it overflows. And it's almost instantaneous. A good few years ago now, when my eldest daughter was born, it was one of those things, I was having a conversation with somebody on Saturday saying, like, they're just about to have another baby. And I'm like, this is the point in time where it's just like, you're waiting, but you're excited, but you're scared, but you're worried, but you're, overjoyed. And then it's just, they were saying that they can't deal with the waiting side of it. I was like, no, I'm not good with patience. My eldest daughter was born, and I realised fairly early on in the process that when I was with her, when I held her, and when just when I was around her or doing stuff, changing a nappy or doing like food or that sort of thing, that hole inside me, that gaping hole, was full. I didn't need anything. I didn't want anything. I didn't it was just almost like silence. So that was that. Then I realised the more I put into the situation, the more that hole was full. But the hole was full, so then it started overflowing. And what overflowed from that hole was all this love and affection, and it just like almost like oozed out. When my second daughter came along, it was like that experience, but squared. It's like my fear was always that fear of how are you supposed to love something else as much as you love that first one, and what it turned out to be was that it's just different. It's not more or less, it's just different. So that hole was just brimming, overflowing. Again, another daughter comes along, and just that aspect of I don't need to worry anymore. I don't need to do any of these things anymore. That hole has been filled. And it's something I've had to think about a lot recently, because now that my son's in the mix, spending time with my son reminds me a lot of spending time with my eldest daughter when she was a similar age, and reminds me a lot of this hole. And recently there's been this sort of these few weeks, a month or so maybe, where it's just been running wild. And then all of a sudden just stopped. And I'm like, why? What has caused it to stop? What is the reason? I don't know. But it is the summer holidays at the moment. So, maybe there's a connection. There's a lot more meat on the bone there, but we'd be here for hours and hours and hours on end whilst I picked apart these things. There's a lot I'm leaving on the table on today's episode of the podcast, because I've had to cut big chunks of stuff that's happened in the last week out. Physically can't get through it all. Ironically, the last thing to discuss this week is this week has presented itself with this just a new and interesting parenting problem. 3 of my 4 children have all decided that... No, that's not true. 2 of my 4 children have all decided that they're going to start, that staying up is the in thing to do. And luckily for one of them, I agree. And for the other, I partially agree. So, everybody's staying up now. My eldest, she's staying up. Unfortunately, for my middle daughter, she has only just started being able to stay up and enjoy the fruits of that. And almost immediately, my youngest daughter is like, well, I'm going to stay up as well. Like, there are a lot more conditions around her staying up. But now we've got a situation. Where my eldest sits in the games room, watches either TV or movies. My middle daughter sits in the living room and watches movies. My youngest daughter joins my middle daughter for movies. My son, he gets to stay up a little bit, but secretly not. And whereas the idea was I'd spend time sat with my middle daughter And we'd have that time together, and then I'd go and spend time with my oldest, and we'd have that time together. I had that very weird realisation, not weird, but that realisation where I wasn't actually spending time with anybody. I was just going between different rooms, going, "You all right? Yeah. Is this good? Yeah. You enjoying it? Yeah. What's happening? Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's comforting. You've been watching it for an hour. You don't know what's happening? Nah. Cool. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Off to a different room. How's it going in here? Yeah, it's good. You enjoying this? Yeah, I'm enjoying it. That's good then. What's going on in this one? Don't know. Okay. Rinse and repeat that for 2 hours. And that's basically what me spending time with my children looks like now. And there's that part of me that's like, was this the idea? Was this the plan? Was this how it was supposed to go? Because I don't think this works. Came up with a solution. On the fly. I was like, look, this doesn't work. And everybody panicked. I'm like, it's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to extend your TV time. This is my eldest. That way, by the time you've done all of your TV, my middle daughter's movie will have finished. She can go off to bed. And then I can sit and watch a movie with you. Everybody wins. I'll sit with my middle daughter, my youngest daughter, my son to start with. They'll go to bed. Me and my middle daughter can watch the rest of the movie. Boom, boom, boom. My eldest, watch some TV that I've seen before. And then, me and my eldest can watch a movie together. Everyone wins. Everybody wins. Right up until this evening, where everybody was too tired, and I'm like, right, you need to put your TV on now, but you can only watch one episode because you need to go to bed earlier, so you need to put your film on earlier. You need to start your movie half an hour earlier because you also need to go to bed earlier. So, we're no further on in this. Cool. It's great being a parent. I watched some TV. Not only did I watch some TV, I watched 4 episodes of a TV series between last we met and now, and finished a TV series. It is the same series. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 being the last episode of the series. So, I'm going to quickly go through them. Episode 5 had Ron Perlman in. Ron Perlman played a very strange character. He was like an adult baby. And both Mr. and Mrs. Smith ended up in this weird parent role where they then started talking about having children. One wanted to, the other didn't. And it was odd, but there was obviously like a lot of metaphor involved. Like the whole point was that Ron Perlman was like a big baby and they were like his parents, and then that outlined how one of them would be good at being a parent, the other one wouldn't, and not the way round you'd expect. And it was like, okay. Episode 6, Mr. and Mrs. Smith go to couples therapy. Honestly, I spent the whole episode hoping that it was actually a job and they were there to kill the therapist. That would have been the best scenario for me, because holy shit balls. You know when something is great because it's awful. Oh Jesus. It was one of those where fuck. You know, it's like that new age therapy relationship thing where you have to say, oh, I'm going to take a time out, and you're not understanding my feelings, and, you know, all of that stuff. You're not listening to me, and you think I'm stupid, you know, all of that. I was sat watching it and I was like, Jesus Christ. Me and Leanne have had about 5 serious conversations in just short of 24 years. And yeah. I honestly think I'd have to claw my own eyes out if I was in a relationship like that. And the other thing I was thinking about, I was like, can you imagine the irony if Leanne was like, man, I wish we could really talk out some of these key talking points. Fuck a duck. It was great because it outlines this thing, but it was also awful, and I really, really hoped they were going to kill the therapist. Fucking Norma. Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah. Episode 7 dealt with infidelity, but in a different way. The start of that episode was fantastic. It was really one of those that led you down the garden path and then slapped you in the mouth when it got you there. It was one of those where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, wow. Something that really comes out in the last couple of episodes is that the Jane Smith character just spends all of her time needing people to tell her how much her husband loves her in all the different ways that he loves her, so that she can then still be angry and a whole host of other things at her husband. So strange. But yes, it dealt with some questions around infidelity for the Smiths, but not quite in the way you would imagine. And it went from like 0 to 60 is so fast. It was really good. Now then, episode 8 was the final episode. I promised myself I was going to watch half of it because I knew it was an hour long. I'm just going to watch half, and then I'm going to go and do something else. And then tomorrow I'll watch the other half nicely in time to do a certain podcast. Obviously, it was that good, I watched the whole episode. Watching that episode made me reflect back over the series. I think that as a series, it's got a lot of layers. Every episode has got something just so interesting about it, whilst also being like a lot of fun, or, you know, fast paced. Or I look back at the first episode where I was trying umming and ahhing whether I was actually going to enjoy it, to be in the last episode going, this series was fantastic. It was so good. They've left it in that kind of will it, won't it get another series. I'm in two minds. Part of me is like, I hope it does because it was great. Another part of me is like, I'm okay if they want to leave it there because I think it was just really good. It was just fantastic TV. And honestly, you know, do we get that these days? I'm looking at you, the bear. As a series, thoroughly enjoyed, thoroughly recommend. If you are looking for your next watch, if you are remotely a fan of anybody that might have been in it, or any of those sorts of things, you've seen the film, you want to see the series, anything like that, all I'll say to you is this: watch the first episode, and then as quickly as possible watch the second episode. And I think if you do that, you get through those, you'll be all right. I watched a movie. I have to do a bit of a caveat before I talk about it. The one of and the main bad guys in this film is James Franco. I, like the whole world, basically dropped James Franco from existence when whatever happened. I was very much the Seth Rogen in this relationship. I was like, I don't want anything to do with you, and that's that. That was that. Problem was, however you want to say it, that I saw a trailer for this film a little while ago, and I went, that looks quite good. And then I've seen a couple of clips for it, presumably because I watched the trailer, and the clips looked good. Put it on my watch list, and it came up available to watch for free. So I was like, cool, give this a whirl. It started, the credits rolled, and like second credit, James Franco. I went, shit. Now here's the thing. There have been situations, scenarios and whatever where certain people have had to deal with certain allegations, and those allegations were essentially proven to be false. But they have already essentially been cancelled. So whether the accusations were true or false, whatever, their career is over. It then becomes quite difficult to go and watch a film that person is in. I'm thinking of a couple of particular people at this point in time, but I don't feel I want to go into that right now. I haven't watched certain films with certain people in since certain allegations were made. So, I had a difficult decision to make. Do I continue watching this film knowing that James Franco's in it, or do I turn it off now? I think because he was the bad guy, it made my decision to keep watching a little easier. And I think because I was a bit like, this film was made before the allegations came out, I don't know how they relate to the time frame of the film, whatever. I think I'm possibly making excuses for the fact that I watched a film and didn't really stick to my guns. However, that is a roundabout way of caveating the fact that I watched a film that has James Franco. So, the film is Homefront. Now then, I think I heard a story about this film. I think I heard a podcast at some point in time where they were doing a review of this film in some way, shape or form. And having looked at the credits early on, I think this film rang a bell. Reason being, so a lot of the credits were... It's a Jason Statham movie. However, a lot of the credits were produced by Sylvester Stallone, screenplay by Sylvester Stallone, written by Sylvester Stallone, created by Sylvester Stallone, and so on and so forth. And I'm pretty sure I heard a thing at some point that said that Sylvester Stallone had cast himself in the role, the Jason Statham role, and I think there was something along the lines where it had been highlighted to him that people wouldn't believe him in that role. And I think it may be an age thing. So I think what's then happened is that he's gone to his good buddy, Jason Statham, and gone, I've written this movie, I've got backing for it, do you want to do the main character. And as we know, Jason Statham has basically never turned down a film role. So there we go. Straight off the bat, it felt from trailers and clips I saw like a proper Saturday night movie. I, however, watched it on the treadmill, so I watched it over a series of days. It's very Jason Statham and it's very Sylvester Stallone. But it was good. I enjoyed it. It had a monster cast. So you've got Jason Statham. You've got, like I say, James Franco is in it, but obviously this was at a different time. Clancy Brown, Winona Ryder, Frank Grillo, all turn up in this film. You're like, this cast list is insane for this film. Essentially works on the principle that Jason Statham was a DEA agent undercover, busted a meth operation, biker operation, where they were dealing meth, and the head biker guy, his son gets killed. Jason Statham's undercover character is blamed, and he rides off into the sunset to go and live his life with his daughter. His wife has recently died, and they go to live where his wife grew up. Almost feels like a rehashing of the Thomas Jane Punisher in some ways. On the other side of things, Jason Statham's daughter gets into an altercation at school, which starts a chain reaction. Gets into a fight with a boy, beats the boy up. The boy's parents have an issue. Then Jason Statham gets into an altercation with them. The mother's brother is James Franco, who is the meth dealer of the area. He gets Winona Ryder involved. She gets the biker guy involved. He gets Frank Grillo involved. Clancy Brown's the sheriff, but he's turning a blind eye to the meth, etc. etc. So all of this, it's all fast-paced, it's all fights, it's all guns, it's all everything. Super Saturday night movie feel. Lots of action. It's pretty much go from the start. Shortest version is, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was almost better than I thought it was going to be. It was almost better than it had any right to be. It was such a weird combination. The cast alone stood out to me as weird. You know, when you're a bit like, how did you get all these people to be in this film? So there's that side of things. Very much the one-man army Jason Statham we've come to know and love. There's something that I have to talk about. There is I think she's like the school counsellor. She is off-puttingly attractive. Now, some of you might know what I mean by that. The fact that the film portrays that she works in this school and she just wants to do right by the kids, and she's decided to help out Jason Statham because his wife's died, and they're getting on well, and the daughter's happy because he's happy, and they're starting a bit of a budding relationship, and she's going to help out with the daughter. All of this, the film wants you to believe that that's real, rather than this woman is a part-time model, part-time actress in Hollywood. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything else, but it is so off-putting's not the right, you can't look away from it. You can't ignore it. You can't go, yeah, it's completely reasonable that that woman works in that school and is attracted to that man, and she wants to help her daughter and help all of the children. Never in a million years. I can't think of the right word. It's distracting. You just like, come on, dude. Also, a lot of the time, or a couple of times in it where you're like, oh, the film is going to go in this direction, it'll suddenly take like a right turn. There's a point, and I don't want to spoil anything because you might watch it, but there's a point where Jason Statham's setting up this elaborate series of like a trap to, he's doing this thing and he's doing this thing and putting this here and like popping that there, and he's gonna, he's obviously setting a trap for the meth guys. And partway through setting a trap, he just gets smacked over the head with a bar, and that's that. And it changes the course of the film, and you're like, oh, that is not how I saw that going. Good film, enjoyable. I think everybody did it justice, and maybe you have no issues with the Franco thing, and maybe you can just get on and watch it and see if you're distracted by the teacher in it. Computer games wise, there's been a bit of there's been a super weird situation. I've recently, very kindly, had my computer's graphics card upgraded. It's a very long story. Not that long, but it's long enough. Too long to go into right now. What this means is that I should get amazing graphics from things like VR. I haven't played any VR in a few days for two reasons. One, it's been hot as balls, which doesn't work for VR. And two, I've got a house full. I don't play VR when the house is full. However, I'm going to have to bend that rule on Wednesday. I think we all know why that is, but we'll get to that in another episode. So, I've been playing console games. I know. Hark at me. So, I got a free copy. That's right. That's me. I'm connected. I'm in the know me. I've got a wildly successful podcast. A free copy of Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. And I couldn't get it to work properly, or should I say, I couldn't get it to work for long enough at one time. It just crashes every 20 minutes. So I ended up getting a heavily discounted copy for the PlayStation. So I've played two simultaneous versions. I think the PlayStation version is catching up to where I was on the Steam Deck. I'm not far enough into it to give like any solid reviews. What I will say is this. Traversal in that game is mental. I have zero ideas, reasons, or whatever why the people that made the game decided to go with the traversal system the way they did. It is so incredibly overcomplicated, it makes no sense. So, what you end up doing is picking one character and sticking with that character for the entire game so far, because all characters, there are 4 of them, all characters' traversal systems are different. So, super complicated, and each character's is different. Yeah, you've got no hope of learning them, so you just go, I'm going to stick with that character. So I've been playing as Deadshot for pretty much the entire game. Played a little bit as King Shark, but ironically, I'm not a fan of his traversal. That's kind of that. Outside of that, it's a looter shooter. I almost already know the reason I'm going to stop playing this game before I finished it, and I already suspect that it's going to be the missions. I think the missions are going to get super repetitive, super fast, and it's just going to be one of those you're like, why am I playing this game? And I think that might have been the review that I've heard, but I'm already getting an inkling that that's the way it's going to go. So I will endeavour to play it more, and I will endeavour to keep as much of an update as I can for it. But we might hit a point where I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm not playing that anymore. The other game I've been playing recently, and enjoying to a degree, is Crime Boss, Rockay City. I've been playing it recently because I'd had it on Steam. I've been playing it and enjoying it on there, but found out that I could get like the special edition of it for the PlayStation for like £12, and was like, yeah, I'd like to give it a whirl on PlayStation. And when I did, I was like, oh, this plays very different, and it's quite enjoyable. So I've officially failed my first playthrough. However, I will say this. For a first playthrough of that game, I got really far. I was surprised how far. I almost felt like I was going to get to the back end of the game. However, something this game does is you can make a series of selections on your own, and the game then goes, I don't want you to go that far this time. So when you look at a mission and it says that it's low risk, and you're like, cool, and then you take your boss and everybody gets killed apart from the boss, so you've got no teammates for any future missions, and you've also got no money, and you're a bit like, I wonder how this one's going to go from now on. You know the end of that playthrough is near, but it makes it feel like you're not, like your decisions and actions don't have the right consequences. It's like the game is just going to decide whether you win or lose, and that's it. So it feels a bit redundant, almost playing it. Like, although it's enjoyable to play, you also feel like any minute the game's going to decide, I don't want you to finish it this time, so you won't. Bit random and a bit annoying, because obviously you then have to start again. So it's a bit like, not sure I like that feature. Again, there's been some new missions added. Missions where you essentially have to wait for a helicopter, and it's interesting because it's not like, oh, I've collected all the loot, let's get on the helicopter. It's one that goes, I've collected all the loot, let's put the loot on the helicopter and have the helicopter fly away, and then we have to wait for the helicopter to come back to then get on it. So you've got like that survival aspect for like 2 to 4 minutes or whatever. Interesting, but maybe a bit annoying as well. I don't feel I'm selling the game too well, but I don't think I need to, because I think the game's been out a while and I don't feel it's been overly sold well, let's say. I don't think originally it had very good reception, and I think it's not really changed much since then. But hey, that's why the cookie crumbles. No, I'm not trying to start a catchphrase. There we go. That is what turned out to be a long, rambling episode. I should probably stop drinking coffee before these episodes. But yeah, there we go. I will catch you next time. There we go. What do you think of that? Bit of a weird one. I need to stop being so vague, but I don't know how. Anyway, before you go, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Variety of different places that allow you to review podcasts, and they do mean a lot to the podcast in question, especially this one. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media buttons, links, email buttons, a variety of different ways you can get in touch with us. Send abuse if you really feel you need to. Otherwise, just send us a hi. Say which is your favourite podcast. There are many. Right, that's it. there we go. Done. Out clean. I'll catch you next time. Until then, I'm going to say bye. And I said that bit already. Anyway, see you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Cookie Cast.